My parents demanded I give my sister my master bedroom. So I sold the entire house and disappeared. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am at 2 a.m., boxes packed around me, preparing to execute what my best friend Kevin calls the nuclear option. By the time my family reads this, because yes, Patricia, I know you stalk my Reddit, the house will already be listed and I'll be gone. Let me start from the beginning. I'm James, 31M, and until recently, I thought I had a decent relationship with my parents, Robert, 59M, and Linda, 57F, and my younger sister Ashley, 24F. That illusion shattered 3 weeks ago when they sat me down for what they called a family meeting in my own living room. For context, I bought my house 4 years ago after landing a senior developer position at a tech company. It's a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial in a nice neighborhood, something I worked my ass off to afford. The master bedroom has an en-suite bathroom and a walk-in closet that I converted into a home office space. My parents live about 20 minutes away, and Ashley had been living with them since dropping out of college 2 years ago. The meeting started with my mother's trademark manipulation tactic, tears. "James, honey, we need to talk about Ashley's situation," she began, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue she'd clearly prepared in advance. My father jumped in with his stern voice, the one he used when I was 12, and he thought I'd stolen money from his wallet. I hadn't. "Your sister needs a proper space to get her life together. She's been so depressed in that tiny room at our house." I should mention that Ashley's tiny room at their house is actually their finished basement suite, complete with its own bathroom and kitchenette. It's bigger than most studio apartments in the city. "We think," my mother continued, "that Ashley should move in with you. Into the master bedroom. You can take one of the smaller rooms, you're single anyway, so you don't need all that space." I actually laughed. I thought they were joking. They weren't. "You're serious?" I asked, looking between their faces. "You want me to give up my master bedroom, in my house that I pay for, to Ashley?" "Family helps family," my father said, as if that explained everything. "Besides, Ashley needs the en-suite bathroom for her anxiety. She can't share a bathroom, it triggers her." Now, I need to be clear about something. Ashley doesn't have diagnosed anxiety. What Ashley has is a pattern of manipulation she learned from watching our parents. Whenever she doesn't get her way, she suddenly develops a condition that requires everyone to rearrange their lives around her. "No," I said simply. "If Ashley needs her own space, she can get a job and rent an apartment like every other adult." The explosion was immediate. My mother went from tactical tears to full sobbing. My father's face turned that particular shade of purple I remembered from childhood. And Ashley, who had apparently been listening from the hallway, stormed in screaming about how I was literally trying to kill her by not supporting her mental health. "You have 4 bedrooms," Ashley shrieked. "You live here alone. You're being selfish." "I'm being selfish." I stood up. "I worked 60-hour weeks for 3 years to save for this down payment. I pay the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance. Which part of that entitles you to my bedroom? You wouldn't even have that job if Dad hadn't known someone at the company." Ashley shot back. This was partially true. My father had mentioned the opening to me. But I'd gone through 6 rounds of interviews, a technical assessment, and a trial period like everyone else. I'd earned my position. "Get out," I said quietly. "All of you. Get out of my house." My mother gasped like I'd slapped her. "James, we're your family. Family doesn't ambush me with demands for my property. Family doesn't try to guilt me into giving up my space because Ashley refuses to get her life together. Leave. Now." They left, but not before my father delivered his parting shot. "You'll regret this, James. Family is all you have in this world." For the next 3 weeks, they unleashed what I can only describe as psychological warfare. My phone buzzed constantly with texts from extended family about how heartless I was being. My mother called my employer, crying about how her son was having a mental health crisis and needed support. My father showed up at my house at random times, demanding to be let in because family doesn't shut each other out. Ashley posted vague but pointed Facebook statuses about toxic siblings and survival abuse. Then, 2 days ago, I came home to find Ashley's car in my driveway and boxes on my porch. My mother was directing my father and Uncle Gary as they tried to pick the lock on my front door. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded. "We're moving Ashley in," my mother said matter-of-factly. "Since you won't do the right thing, we're doing it for you. The locksmith will be here soon." That was it. That was my breaking point. "You're trespassing," I said, pulling out my phone. "Leave now or I'm calling the police." "You wouldn't dare," my father said. I dialed 911. They left before the police arrived, but the damage was done. I knew this would never stop. They would escalate and escalate until they wore me down or found a way to force their will on me. So I made a decision. I called my real estate agent that night. I had significant equity in the house thanks to the crazy market, and she assured me we could move fast. I then called my manager at work and requested to transition to fully remote, which was approved since I'd been hybrid anyway. I started looking at rentals across the country, places where a fresh start wasn't just possible but necessary. Everything is in motion now. The house goes on the market Monday. The movers come Tuesday. By Wednesday, I'll be driving toward my new life in Colorado, where I've already secured a lease on a nice 2-bedroom apartment, with 1 bedroom that I'll use as an office, and a master bedroom that will remain mine. My family doesn't know yet. They'll find out when the sign goes up in the yard. When they realize that not only will Ashley not be getting my master bedroom, but she'll be losing access to the house entirely. When they understand that their manipulation hasn't won them control, it's cost them their son. Some of you will say I'm overreacting. That I should try to work it out. But here's the thing, this isn't about a bedroom. It's about a pattern of behavior that goes back decades. It's about parents who see their children not as individuals but as resources to be managed and distributed according to their whims. It's about a sister who learned that tantrum equal rewards and never had to learn otherwise. I'm done being a resource. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done being told that family means I have to sacrifice my peace, my space, and my sanity for people who contribute nothing but demands and emotional terrorism. The house will sell quickly in this market. My parents and Ashley will have no choice but to figure out Ashley's living situation without my involvement. And I'll be 1,500 miles away, building a life where no means no, boundaries are respected, and family is defined by mutual respect, not blood. This is my nuclear option. This is me choosing myself. And honestly, it feels like freedom. Update 1, 3 days later. Well, the sign went up this morning, and the explosion has been biblical. I'm currently in a hotel about 2 hours from my former house, waiting for the movers to finish tomorrow before I start my drive to Colorado. I had to leave because my family completely lost their minds, and I needed to be somewhere they couldn't find me. It started at 7 a.m. when my mother drove past my house on her way to work. She claims it was a coincidence, but my house is nowhere near her route. The for sale sign had just been installed. According to my neighbor Jennifer, who has been texting me updates, my mother sat in her car in front of my house for 20 minutes, then sped off. By 7:45, my phone was exploding. I had it on silent, but the screen was lighting up continuously. Calls from my mother, father, Ashley, aunts, uncles, cousins I haven't spoken to in years. Text messages ranging from, "This is a joke, right?" to, "You're dead to this family," to, "Please, James, let's talk about this." The voicemails were the worst part. My mother crying so hard she was hyperventilating. My father threatening legal action, for what, I have no idea. Ashley screaming that I was destroying her life, and that she hoped I died alone and miserable. At 10 a.m., they showed up at my workplace. Security had to escort them out when they refused to leave the lobby. My manager called me afterward, concerned but supportive. "Take all the time you need to handle this," he said. "We're glad you're staying with the company, even if remotely." By noon, they'd figured out I wasn't at work or home. That's when they started calling the real estate agent. She later told me it was the most unprofessional thing she'd witnessed in 20 years. My father threatened to sue her for facilitating elder abuse. I'm apparently abusing them by selling my own house. My mother sobbed about how the house had sentimental value to the family. They'd been inside it maybe 10 times in 4 years. Ashley called her a home-wrecking bitch, which doesn't even make sense. The agent, bless her, simply told them that all communication needed to go through me and that the sale was proceeding as planned. She also mentioned that she'd be reporting their harassment to the police if it continued. That's when they tried a new tactic, sending flying monkeys. First was my Uncle Thomas, my father's brother. He called with his voice of reason tone. "James, buddy, let's talk about this. You're making a permanent decision based on temporary emotions." "The decision is made, Thomas. But think about your parents. They're getting older. They need you nearby. They're not even 60. They're in perfect health. And they have Ashley nearby. Ashley can't take care of them like you can." There it was. The real concern. Not that I was leaving, but that I was removing myself as a future resource. Without me and my house as a backup plan, they might actually have to deal with Ashley themselves. Next came my cousin Michelle, who I actually used to be close with. James, I get it. I really do. But selling the house, isn't that a bit extreme? They tried to break into my house to move Ashley in against my will, Michelle. They what? Apparently, that detail hadn't made it through the family telephone game. When I explained what had happened, Michelle went quiet. Jesus, James. I'm sorry. I didn't know it had gotten that bad. She was the only one who seemed to understand. The most pathetic attempt came from Ashley herself around 5 p.m. She texted me a long message about how she was sorry things got out of hand, and how we could work something out. She suggested that maybe she could just take one of the regular bedrooms and pay me something for rent once she got on her feet. I didn't respond. Then came the guilt trip parade on social media. My mother posted a long, rambling Facebook status about how children today don't understand family values and how heartbroken she was to be abandoned in her time of need. The comments were a mix of sympathy from her friends who didn't know the whole story and awkward silence from those who did. Ashley posted a series of Instagram stories about being homeless and betrayed by blood. She actually started a GoFundMe for her emergency housing situation caused by her narcissistic brother's cruelty. It raised $47 before someone reported it as fraudulent. The real estate agent called me this evening with good news. We already have 3 serious inquiries about the house. The market is hot, and my asking price is competitive. We could have offers by the weekend. As I sit here in this hotel room, surrounded by my essential belongings while the rest get loaded into a moving truck, I feel peaceful. For the first time in years, maybe decades, I feel like I can breathe. Tomorrow I start driving to Colorado. I've already blocked my family's numbers, though I'm keeping screenshots of everything for documentation. My cousin Michelle has agreed to be an emergency contact if something actually serious happens. I know they'll escalate more before this is over. I know there will be more guilt trips, more manipulation, more attempts to force me back into the role they've assigned me. But here's the thing, I won't be there to see it. I'll be in Colorado, in my new apartment, living my life on my terms. The nuclear option is working exactly as intended. Update 2, 2 weeks later. The house sold. Above asking price. Cash offer. 30-day close. I'm writing this from my new apartment in Denver, sitting on my balcony with a view of the mountains and a beer that tastes like freedom. But let me back up and tell you what happened over the last 2 weeks, because my family's extinction burst has been something to behold. The offers started rolling in the weekend after I left. The agent was right. The market was hungry for a house like mine. Well-maintained, good neighborhood, 4 bedrooms. We had 5 offers within 3 days. I accepted the best one, $30,000 over asking, cash, inspection waived, quick close. The buyers were a young family relocating for work, and they loved everything about the house. The agent called my parents' house to schedule some final paperwork pickup. I'd had some documents shipped there years ago and forgotten about them. That's how my family found out the sale was actually happening. According to Jennifer, my wonderful neighbor who deserves a medal for her reconnaissance work, my parents showed up at the house within an hour. They parked across the street and just sat there. 4 hours. Jennifer said my mother was crying while my father typed furiously on his phone. Then the legal threats started. My father sent me an email, I hadn't blocked those yet, needed them for documentation, claiming that I owed them for emotional damages and that they had invested in my house through their guidance and support. He actually tried to claim that because he'd told me about the job opening, he was entitled to a percentage of my house sale profits. I forwarded it to a lawyer friend, Kevin, who laughed so hard he nearly choked on his coffee. Please tell me you're saving these. They're gold if you ever need a restraining order. Ashley tried a different approach. She reached out through LinkedIn, with a business proposal. She wanted to partner with me on investment opportunities with my house sale profits. She actually created a PowerPoint presentation about how she could be my property manager for future real estate investments, despite having no experience, no degree, and no job history beyond 3 months at a coffee shop 2 years ago. I didn't respond, but I did screenshot everything. The extinction burst reached its peak when they discovered I'd changed my emergency contacts at work. My mother had tried to call my office claiming there was a family emergency and she needed to reach me immediately. HR informed her that she was no longer listed as an emergency contact and they couldn't provide any information. That's when she called the police in Denver. Yes, you read that right. My mother called the Denver Police Department and reported me as a missing person who might be in danger. She claimed I'd been coerced into moving and that she was concerned for my welfare. Two very patient officers showed up at my apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. I explained the situation, showed them the texts and emails from my family, and assured them I was fine and had moved of my own free will. They took notes, told me to consider a restraining order, and left. They also told my mother to stop filing false reports or face charges. The house closing was last Friday. The money hit my account Monday morning. It's more than enough to live comfortably while I figure out my next steps. I'm thinking about buying a smaller place here in Denver, or maybe investing in a rental property. Ironically, Ashley's PowerPoint gave me some ideas, just none that involve her. Jennifer sent me one last update yesterday. Ashley and her boxes were back at my parents' house. She'd apparently been so confident that I would cave and let her move in that she'd told all her friends she was getting a house. She'd even posted photos of my house on Instagram with captions about her new place. The embarrassment of having to admit the truth sent her into what Jennifer described as a theatrical production worthy of Broadway. My parents, meanwhile, have gone silent. The last communication was a text from my father saying, "You've made your choice. Don't come crying to us when you realize what you've thrown away." Here's what I've thrown away: years of manipulation. Endless guilt trips. The expectation that I'll sacrifice my peace for their comfort. The role of eternal provider to a sister who refuses to grow up. The weight of being responsible for everyone's happiness but my own. And here's what I've gained: peace. Freedom. Control over my own life. A beautiful apartment in a city I'm already falling in love with. The ability to say no without a 3-hour argument. Relationships based on mutual respect rather than obligation. The knowledge that I can stand up for myself, even against the people who programmed me to never say no to them. I've started therapy here to work through the years of conditioning. My therapist says what I did wasn't cruel or extreme, it was necessary. You didn't just need boundaries, she said. You needed walls. And sometimes, walls require distance. I've made friends with some neighbors. I'm exploring the city. I'm sleeping better than I have in years. I wake up without dread, without checking my phone to see what crisis I'm expected to solve today. My cousin Michelle still keeps in touch. She says Ashley is driving my parents insane now that she's their full-time problem again. Apparently, she's demanded they convert their garage into a studio apartment for her. They're actually considering it because they don't know what else to do with her. That could have been my life. Ashley in my master bedroom, probably forever, while I tiptoed around my own house. My parents having unlimited access to manipulate and control. Years of being told that sacrifice equals love and boundaries equal selfishness. Instead, I'm here. Free. Happy. Living proof that the nuclear option sometimes isn't just the best option, it's the only option. Final update, 2 months later. This will be my last update on this situation, and I'm happy to say it's because there's nothing left to update. The explosion is over, the dust has settled, and life has moved on, beautifully for me, and, well, let's just say differently for my family. I found out through Michelle, who remains my one family contact, that my parents have been telling everyone I had a mental breakdown, and that's why I moved. According to their version of events, the job stress got to me and I made an impulsive decision I'll surely regret. They've apparently been telling people they're giving me space to heal, and that they're sure I'll come home when I'm ready. The reality, which Michelle has been subtly spreading through the family grapevine, is much different. Ashley is still living at home, still unemployed, and has become an absolute nightmare for my parents to deal with. Without me as a buffer and potential solution, they're stuck with the monster they created. Ashley has demanded they convert the garage into an apartment for her. They got quotes, $40K minimum. Buy her a car because everyone her age has one. Pay for her to go back to school for a degree in social media influencing, not a real degree. Give her an allowance because she can't work with her anxiety. The beautiful irony. My parents are now experiencing exactly what they tried to force on me. They're living with an entitled adult child who expects everything and contributes nothing. They can't kick her out because family helps family, their own words. They can't say no because they've never taught her to accept it. Michelle told me my father recently said, "At least James was responsible. Ashley is." And then just trailed off. Yeah, Dad. Ashley is exactly what you enabled her to be. Meanwhile, my life in Denver has flourished. I've been promoted to team lead for a new project, with another significant salary bump. I'm in escrow on a beautiful 2-bedroom condo with mountain views, smaller than my old house but perfect for me. I've joined a hiking club, started dating someone amazing named Sarah who actually understands boundaries, and feel like I'm finally living my life instead of managing everyone else's. The last direct contact from my family was last week. My mother sent me a birthday card, My birthday was 2 months ago, but whatever, with a long letter inside. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. Guilt about missing family events, updates on various relatives' health issues, all minor, mentions of how empty the holidays will be without me, and a passive-aggressive note about how she drove by my old house and the new family has destroyed the garden she helped me plant. I planted that garden alone. She ended with, "Despite everything, we're willing to forgive you and welcome you home when you're ready to apologize." I didn't respond. There's nothing to say. They're waiting for an apology that will never come, for a return that will never happen, for the old James who would sacrifice his peace for their comfort. That person doesn't exist anymore. I did hear one piece of news that made me laugh. Ashley finally got a job. She's working part-time at a department store, and apparently, she's miserable. She has to be on her feet all day, follow a schedule, and, horror of horrors, be nice to people. My mother called it growth. Michelle called it the bare minimum. I call it not my problem. To everyone who messaged me saying I'd regret the nuclear option, I don't. Not for a single second. The nuclear option gave me everything I needed: distance, freedom, and clarity. It showed me who truly cared about me, very few, versus who saw me as a resource, almost everyone. To those in similar situations, wondering if they should take drastic action, sometimes the only way to save yourself is to burn the bridge completely. Not just cross it and close the door behind you, but eliminate the possibility of going back. Because as long as that bridge exists, manipulators will try to cross it. I'm closing this chapter now. My family made their choices, and I made mine. They chose manipulation, guilt, and enabling. I chose freedom, peace, and self-respect. They're living with the consequences of their choices, and I'm living with the rewards of mine. And that's the end of this story. There's no reconciliation, no tearful reunion, no moment where they realize their mistakes and change. Real life doesn't usually work that way. Sometimes, the happiest ending is simply walking away and never looking back. My name is James, I'm 31 years old, I live in Denver, and I'm free. That's my happy ending.